The desert winds of Ascari didn't whisper, they screamed. Sand blew like blades across the golden sea of dunes, and somewhere beneath the burning sun and fractured sky, a man ran for his life. His name was Corin Vale, once a captain of the royal guard, now a traitor with a bounty worth more than most cities. His cloak was torn. His leg bled freely. Each step sank him deeper into the dunes, but he didn't stop. Couldn't. Behind him, the king's hunters rode beasts of bone and flame. Their horns split the horizon. Their shadows moved faster than sound. And Corin was out of strength. He collapsed near the mouth of a canyon, cracked stone like jagged teeth above him. His eyes fluttered. He whispered a name, not of a friend, but of a place, the Temple of Echoes. High above the canyon, where no path marked the way, Serene sat in meditation, her hands resting on her knees, her dark braids coiled like serpents on her shoulders. She was the oracle of Ascari, gifted or cursed with the sight. And that day, she saw a man die. Only, he didn't. A vision struck her suddenly, violent and radiant. A wounded man. A falling star. A heartbeat that echoed in hers. She gasped. The outlaw lives, she whispered. And something in her soul stirred. She rose. She descended. Corin drifted in and out of consciousness. The sand burned. Blood dried in his boots. The last thing he saw before the world went dark was a figure in white robes stepping through the storm like the desert itself bowed for her. When he awoke, it was to the scent of jasmine and the faint hum of water in the desert. He sat up too quickly. Zareen turned. Her voice was low and even. You bleed loudly, outlaw. He stared at her. You're the oracle. Yes. You're supposed to turn me in. I saw you die. And yet, here you are. He touched his side. The wound had been bandaged. Why save me? Zareen looked toward the moonlit opening of the temple. Because you changed my vision. And nothing has ever done that. Corin stared at her like he was still dying, still dreaming. But something told him, this woman was not here to end him. She was the beginning of something far more dangerous. And far more beautiful. The Temple of Echoes was not made of stone, it was carved from silence. Its pillars curved like crescent moons, etched with scripts and languages long buried beneath centuries of sun and ash. Water flowed through its core in whispering streams, unseen yet always heard. And above, the dome opened to the stars, each constellation aligned in careful, ancient design. Corin sat near one such pillar now, newly washed, his leg wrapped in desert silk and crushed herbs. He watched Serene light the incense at each cardinal point, her motions slow and deliberate. So, he said, finally. You're really not going to kill me? Zareen didn't turn. If I wanted you dead, Corin Vale, you would already be bones beneath dune. He cracked a smile. Charming. Zareen's eyes flicked toward him, gold, bright, unwavering. Tell me what you did. Corin inhaled, exhaled, leaned his head back against the cool stone. I exposed a lie. The king's lie. The rebellion in the West wasn't started by radicals. It was manufactured by the crown, to control the council. Zareen tilted her head, unsurprised. So they made you the villain. I didn't run because I was guilty, he said. I ran because I told the truth. Zareen approached slowly. She stood before him, robes catching the torchlight like woven starlight. You changed my vision, she said. You were supposed to die yesterday, beneath the moon's third rise. I've been told I'm hard to kill. She crouched before him. No one changes prophecy, Corin. Not unless fate is afraid of them. Their eyes locked. Silence hummed between them like a string drawn too tight. Then Zareen stood and turned away. You can stay until the moon wanes. No more. And after that? After that, she said, the desert will decide. That night, Corin could not sleep. He wandered the temple halls, barefoot, cautious, feeling the stones chill like breath on his skin. The walls spoke to him in ways he didn't understand, shadows curling, stars dancing in windows that shouldn't hold stars. And in the center of the temple, he found her. Zareen, arms raised to the sky, eyes closed. Chanting. The constellations above her pulsed in rhythm with her voice. Corin stood there, silent. She opened her eyes, and though her voice did not speak, he heard it clearly. You're part of this now. Whether you want to be or not. And in his chest, something clicked into place. Like a lock turning. Like prophecy beginning. The next morning, Zareen found Corin in the eastern corridor of the temple, standing before an ancient sandglass taller than a man. It rotated once every century, a single grain falling each year. Corin stared at it. Time moves differently here. Zareen joined him. This temple isn't built on time. It's built on memory. The past and future touch here like dancers. He turned to her. And what does it remember of me? Zareen hesitated. Then, a man who wasn't supposed to matter, but now might decide everything. Corin let out a breath. Then maybe it's time I learned why. That day, Zareen began his training. Not in swordplay, he already knew how to fight. But in sight. In silence. In how to feel the shifting of threads others couldn't even see. She taught him to listen to the desert's breath. To hear the stars speak. He taught her how to laugh again. Each night, their connection deepened. They shared stories, wounds, and scars, his from the battlefield, hers from visions she couldn't change. One evening, by the sacred flame, she whispered, I see death often. But I've never seen mine. Corin's brow furrowed. Do you want to? She shook her head. Not anymore. He reached for her hand. Then don't look. Just stay. Their fingers touched. The flame flickered. And Zareen saw something she hadn't seen in all her years, nothing. No future. No end. Just them. A blank slate. Freedom. But freedom never lasts. On the fourth night, the temple's ward screamed awake. A vision struck Zareen like a lightning bolt, flames at the edge of Ascari, soldiers marching under the king's banner, and in their center, a blade bearing her name. They've found you, she whispered. Corin stood. Then I leave. No, she said, voice sharp. If you leave, you'll die. Again. He hesitated. And if I stay? Zareen closed her eyes. The world will burn. Outside, the desert wind shifted. Inside, two hearts made a choice. They left before dawn. Zareen's robes no longer shimmered with ceremony, they were dark, plain, built for movement. Her eyes, however, burned brighter than ever. Corin moved beside her like a shadow, his sword at his hip and determination writ across his face. They descended the temple in silence, through hidden paths carved beneath the dunes, until the desert opened before them like a waiting god. The horizon glowed red. Ascari was burning. The city of gold was now crowned in smoke. Minarets crumbled. Fires raged across the market squares. The king's banners flapped in defiance, but the streets told a different story, one of rebellion, of chaos, of something older rising beneath the ashes. Zareen and Corin moved through the shadows. They're not just looking for me, he said. No, Zareen answered. They're looking for the truth you carry. They reached the heart of the city by dusk. There, beneath the shattered statue of the first oracle, the resistance made its stand. Old guards. Star readers. Outcast magi. And those who remembered Zareen's mother, who once ruled with wisdom, before prophecy was shackled to the throne. A woman stepped forward, her eyes fierce, her arms marked with fire ink. Sister, she greeted Zareen. Zareen bowed her head. Nima. Corin blinked. You have a sister? Nima grinned. Half-sister. Full fury. Zareen sighed. She burns everything she touches. I light the way, Nima corrected. Are you ready to change fate? Corin stepped between them. Only if fate agrees to bleed. That night, they attacked the palace. Not with armies, but with stories. Nima spread word of the king's deception. Zareen unveiled the secret visions the crown had buried. And Corin, he faced the court himself, blade sheathed, hands raised, voice strong. "I am no traitor," he said. "I am truth. And truth can no longer be exiled." The city watched. The soldiers wavered. The stars shifted. Then a horn rang out across the towers, a royal alarm. From the throne's gate came the final guardian. The sealed one, a warrior bound by oath and magic to protect the king's life. He charged toward Corin. Zareen screamed his name. Corin stood his ground. But before steel met flesh, the sand beneath them erupted. The temple had awakened. A pillar of starlight crashed down. And Zareen, eyes glowing white, stepped between them. She raised her hands. Enough! The sealed one froze, locked in time by a prophecy rewritten. The stars have spoken, Zareen said. There will be no more kings who lie. There will be no more oracles in chains. She turned to the crowd. I will not be your ruler. But I will be your witness. And they knelt, not in worship, but in trust. That night, the palace doors opened to the people. The stars hung low and quiet. And Corin stood beside Zareen on the highest balcony, looking out over the city they had saved. You didn't burn the world, he said. She leaned into him. Only the part that needed cleansing. He kissed her forehead. And now? Now, she said, we rebuild. But in her eyes, the future remained unwritten. For once, that was exactly how she wanted it. The city of Ascari, once golden and silent beneath the heel of prophecy, now bloomed. Not just with flowers, but with freedom. The people had planted gardens in the ruins. Painted murals over walls once reserved for decrees. The stars above no longer dictated the days, they simply watched. Zareen stood in the newly named Garden of Glass, where 1,000 shattered mirrors from the old palace had been arranged into a mosaic walkway. Each step shimmered with the light of dawn. Beside her, Corin paced, parchment in one hand, sword on his back. So many requests. Appeals. Questions. They want you to lead, Zareen. She touched a glowing blossom, one that only bloomed when spoken to with honesty. And I keep telling them, I'm not a queen. You're something more, Corin said. You're the one who freed the future. Zareen smiled faintly. And you're the one who reminded me I had the right to choose it. In the months since their uprising, Zareen and Corin had become symbols, not rulers, but reminders. She taught the next generation how to read the stars without fear. How to see possibilities, not sentences. He trained the new guards, not in war, but in protection and principle. Some nights, he would walk the city walls alone, remembering what it had once been like to run from every shadow. Now, he stood in the open. They both did. And in the quiet between rebuilding and ritual, they built something else too. A home. It was carved into the base of the garden, with stained glass windows that caught sunset in 100 colors. No thrones. No titles. Just shelves of books, soft cushions, and a single brass kettle for tea. One night, Zareen returned from teaching only to find Corin waiting. He knelt. Not out of tradition, but out of love. From his pocket, he pulled a ring forged from star iron, the last of the metal salvaged from the sealed one's armor. Zareen, he said, voice steady but raw. You've seen the end of empires. You've heard the songs of stars. But let me be the one thing in your life you didn't predict. Stay. Not for duty. Not for prophecy. Just for us. She didn't speak. She only wept. Then smiled. And said yes. The city's bells rang the next morning, not for war or warning, but celebration. Their wedding was held under the open sky. No crowns. Just vows whispered in the language of stars. People from across the desert came, not to witness royalty, but to honor a love that had rewritten fate. And as night fell, a single constellation shimmered brighter than the rest. Zareen looked up. "I don't know what tomorrow holds." Corin wrapped an arm around her. "Then let's hold it together." A year passed. Ascari flourished, not under a ruler, but a council born from unity. Zareen's visions no longer bound her, they came rarely now, like gentle tides instead of crashing waves. Peace had a sound again, laughter in courtyards, song from balconies, and the rustle of letters written in hope rather than fear. But peace, as always, is never still. One night, beneath a moon that hung too low, Zareen awoke with her heart racing. She saw not fire, not war, but stars falling. And a voice, ancient and echoing, "The trial approaches. Choose, Oracle. Choose or lose." She sat up gasping. Corin stirred beside her, reaching instinctively for her hand. "Vision?" She nodded. He didn't ask for details. He only said, "We face it together." The trial was a forgotten rite, whispered in the oldest scrolls, from a time when oracles had to prove they could wield truth without pride. It was not a test of power. It was a test of love. To complete it, they would have to journey into the celestial rift, a stretch of the desert where reality twisted, where the stars whispered lies and truths in equal measure. Together, they set out before dawn. The celestial rift was not a place, but a memory given shape. As they crossed into it, the world around them blurred. The sky turned violet. Trees bled starlight. And their memories rose to meet them. Zareen faced herself as a child, alone, afraid, told her visions were her only worth. Corin faced his commander, the one who ordered him to betray the people or be silenced forever. They walked side by side, speaking truths neither had ever voiced. "I feared I would never be more than the visions," Zareen confessed. "I feared I would never be worthy of your future," Corin admitted. But still, they held hands. Still, they walked forward. At the rift's heart stood a mirror made of living starfire. It spoke not in words, but feelings, testing their bond. One by one, it tried to unravel them. To Zareen, it whispered, "He will age. You will not. Will you bear his death?" To Corin, "She is the chosen one. You are only a man. Will you fade beside her?" But they did not falter. They did not speak answers. They only turned to one another, eyes meeting, hands clasped. And they kissed. The mirror shattered. The rift faded. And from the dust rose a gift, a seed of starlight, warm and humming, left in Zareen's palm. "What is it?" Corin asked. She smiled. "A new beginning." They returned to Ascari as dusk bloomed across the sky. The people watched as stars rained again, but gently this time, like blessings. In the center of the garden of glass, Zareen and Corin planted the seed beneath their home. And there, beneath the soil, a tree began to grow, its branches invisible, its roots made of memory and light. A sign to all who passed. Love was stronger than prophecy. The tree grew faster than nature allowed. By the end of spring, it had outgrown the courtyard. Its trunk shimmered under moonlight, branches invisible unless touched by starlight, its leaves whispering secrets in a language only Zareen understood. She called it moonroot, a name spoken once in a vision long ago. "It's speaking to you again," Corin said one evening, watching her place a hand to the bark. "You hear something?" Zareen nodded, voice quiet. "Not a warning. A memory." He joined her beneath the branches. "Yours?" She turned to him. "Ours." That night, Zareen dreamt. Not of war or endings, but of a child. A girl with her hair. His eyes. Running barefoot through the garden. Laughing. She woke with tears in her eyes. Corin was already watching her. "I saw her too," he whispered. They said nothing more. Just held each other in the stillness. Ascari had changed. Once built on tradition and prophecy, it now thrived on collaboration. The garden had become a place for meetings, festivals, learning. The temple had reopened as a sanctuary for oracles in training, those born with gifts but free to choose their path. Zareen didn't lead them. She simply walked with them. But one day, a visitor arrived. An elder from the far north, where the stars still ruled all decisions. He carried a scroll sealed with sunstone. "I come bearing invitation and warning," he said. Corin took the scroll. Zareen read the symbols. Her face paled. "A convergence is coming," she whispered. "A pulling of realms. The stars will align in a way not seen since before Ascari was born." Corin frowned. "What does it mean?" The elder bowed. "It means the world will shift. And all bonds, mortal, magical, and eternal, will be tested." Zareen looked to Moonroot. It pulsed. "We have until the next full moon," she said. "Then we decide if we stay in this peace, or protect it." In the days that followed, Zareen trained the temple oracles, gently but fiercely. Corin prepared the guards, blending honor with compassion. But at night, they sat under Moonroot and imagined a future untouched by fear. And one evening, the tree blossomed. Silver flowers. Dozens of them. Zareen gasped. "What is it?" Corin asked. "It's ready," she whispered. "To protect more than just us." That night, the blossoms fell like stars. Each one landing in the hands of a person destined to be part of what came next. The full moon rose like a warning. Above Ascari, the stars shifted. Not in twinkle or shimmer, but in alignment, each constellation falling into place like teeth in a jaw. Zareen stood in the temple tower, her hands buried in Moonroot's blossoms, eyes closed. "Tonight, the veil thins," she whispered. "The sky will test our hearts." Below, the city was awake. Not with fear, but with preparation. Every blossom that had fallen weeks ago now glowed brightly in the hands of its bearer. Children. Elders. Oracles. Smiths. Even those without magic, everyone stood ready. Corin met her on the tower steps. He wore no armor. Just the cloak she'd given him the night he first arrived, a token of welcome, now a banner of promise. "You're not afraid?" he asked. Zareen looked up at the glowing heavens. "No. Because I know who I face the night with." He kissed her forehead. "Then let's face it together." At midnight, the sky cracked. A shimmer split across the stars, and from it descended a figure robed in light and shadow. No face, only a crown of burning suns. The being spoke not in voice, but presence. Every heart in Ascari felt it. All love challenges the stars. Tonight, prove it is worthy. It raised its arms. The ground split. And across the desert, rifts opened, unleashing beasts of ancient myth. Wyrms of storm. Lions made of dust. Phantoms shaped like past regrets. The people stood strong. And Zareen led them. She and Corin fought back to back, his blade a blur of silver, her spells woven in circles of moonlight. The tree Moonroot stood as beacon and shield, its roots glowing through the cobbled stone. From every blossom carrier, magic flowed. Not destruction, but memory. Love. Hope. Together, they fed the tree. The tree fed the land. The rifts began to close. But the celestial figure remained. "You deny the order," it whispered. Zareen stepped forward. "No. We choose something stronger." "And what is stronger than fate?" Corin joined her. "Choice." Zareen added, "and love." The figure wavered. Then smiled. In a flash of golden dusk, it vanished. The sky quieted. The stars realigned, looser now. Freer. Above them, Moonroot bloomed one final time. And from it fell a single golden seed. Zareen caught it in both hands. "A gift," she said. "For our future," Corin answered. Spring returned. The city of Ascari basked beneath a gentler sky. The constellations no longer ruled with rigidity. They danced freely now, unbound from old prophecies. At the heart of the garden of glass, where Moonroot once stood, a golden sapling grew, small but pulsing with promise. Zareen sat beside it, fingers brushing its leaves. Her belly rounded gently beneath her robe. Corin approached with 2 cups of starleaf tea. "She's growing fast," he said, kneeling beside her. "The tree or the child?" Zareen teased. He grinned. "Both." Their daughter was due at the next moonrise. She had already begun to appear in dreams, not just Zareen's and Corin's, but in the quiet hearts of the people. They dreamed of a child who could speak to roots and rivers, to stars and silence. "She will never be a prisoner to destiny," Zareen vowed one evening. "Not while we live." "She will write her own," Corin added. On the night of her birth, the city stood still. No fires. No horns. Just quiet. The stars dimmed, not out of absence, but reverence. And when the child entered the world, the golden sapling burst into bloom, petals like sunlight on water, humming with life. They named her Elira, meaning light after the storm. Her first breath carried wind. Her first cry echoed like birdsong. Zareen wept. Corin held them both. "She is the new prophecy," he whispered. "No," Zareen corrected gently, smiling. "She is the end of prophecy. And the start of something better." Years passed. Ascari became a legend, not for its wars or rulers, but for its peace. Children studied stars for wonder, not fear. Oracles wandered free. The garden grew taller, more wild, more colorful with each season. And beneath it, the golden tree stood at the center of it all. A symbol of love chosen. Of fate defied. Of 2 hearts who risked everything not to change the stars, but to free them. If you ever walk through that garden, you might hear laughter from behind the branches, or see a silver-eyed child chasing fireflies made of memory. And you'll know, the oracle and the outlaw still walk there, hand in hand, and love, eternal and defiant, still blooms.